Y'all, if you're having trouble sleeping or you've got really achy muscles, Power Pro CBD has teamed up with us to bring you their tinctures and their warming lotions. Guys, these have been a crucial part of my nightly routine. The tincture, take 2 full drops underneath the tongue right before bed, and my HRV and recovery scores have never been higher. And not to mention the warming cream, y'all. I swear by this stuff. It works immediately. 10 plus years of rodeo experience and working out for another 10 plus years pretty intensely. I come across some aches and pains. And so that warming lotion is my go-to to get rid of those and to get rid of it quickly. Y'all can check them out at PowerPro, PWRPro.com. Use our discount code ChampionLiving, all one word, to save you a good chunk at discount. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Champion Living Podcast, the only podcast crossing the lines between the sport of rodeo and fitness. Today's episode, we've got one of our good buddies on. Really excited to chat with you, Kyle. Kyle Jones, if you don't know who Kyle Jones is, he is a PBR athlete, an entrepreneur, cowboy, and we're going to get into his whole story today and what he is. Man, he's got a lot of cool things up his sleeve, so we're excited to chat about what they've got going on over in his neck of the woods. Kyle, how are you this morning, brother?
Doing good.
Good. So you're getting some coffee in?
Oh, yeah. A little coffee, a little water.
Yeah.
Finish my electrolytes.
Literally what
it's
I'm
a must
drinking
for the
right now.
podcast. Yeah, it's a must for the podcast. Coffee. I don't even need any more, as Doug would say.
I don't think people
don't
without
need any
that.
more coffee, but that's true, for sure.
They're sitting there listening like, Jesus, Logan, no, not another cup. Don't have another cup.
If it makes it any better, it's half calf, and so
There
that,
you go.
it's a little bit better. If you
You
drink
guys
2
have
pots,
said you've
though,
been doing that.
yeah.
That's true.
And Lacey's central nervous system can't handle full caffeination with all the kids at home, so we just do we do the half calf, and so then I don't feel so bad when we drink a whole pot. So
It's liquid anxiety is what I think it is.
Liquid anxiety. I like that.
Every
That's
time
exactly
it's
right.
like, anymore since I've done the B12, the METH, I feel like I don't need coffee at all, but I still love the taste of coffee. So I always find myself like, if I drink this, I know my anxiety is going to go through the roof. And I do it anyway, every time.
I do it anyway.
It's just part of it. But it is like I love the taste of coffee, like a good cup of coffee. But I love the routine or habit of it. I think more in the morning is just sitting down and reading or whatever, and just having that cup of coffee just starts the day. I like to, if I'm gonna have a pre-workout, like that's what I'm having is a cup of coffee in the morning, and that's it. And that does me, like you said, way better. And if I have something to do, I get less anxious when I drink it.
So when you're drinking your coffee, do you not take pre-workout, or do you double down?
No, I never take pre-workout. If I'm going to have any kind of pre-workout, it's going to be a cup of coffee, and that's it. I used to take pre-workout, so I'm kind of like Logan in the sense that I'm already running pretty quick naturally. It makes me feel sick to my stomach when I take it. It makes me feel like I'm going too much.
Yeah. I've gotten away from pre-workout myself, and I used to take it before I ride, and I a lot of times I think about like how much like maybe more effective or efficient I would have been if I would have not taken pre-workout, because I'm already naturally ramped up, and I loved the liquid anxiety, because that's definitely what it was for me, especially pre-rodeo. So
especially some of those potent ones. Like I tried the C4 Ultimate, and
cool.
I literally had a guy on the back of the chute like, Kyle, I didn't know you were on stuff. I'm like, dude, I'm not on drugs. I promise you. I may be pouring down with sweat. This is C4 Ultimate, and I will never do it again.
I will never do it again. I drank one of those C4s the other day from the gas station. I'm like, I've never had one of these. We'll give it a whirl. And I was driving, of course. Like, it wasn't, I didn't have anything to do. And 20 minutes later, I was like, this must be what bath salts are like. I almost scratched my face off. I'm like itching everywhere, and it was miserable. I was like, nope, never again.
I will say, in 2 a.m, they come in nice on a long drive. You get and a buddy, and you geek out on some C4.
Yeah,
dude. Hey, there's a time and a place for everything. It's 2 a.m. You got to get home. Yeah, have an energy drink. But drinking those on a daily basis is probably not the best option for you. And also, it will lose potency. Like, your body will adjust to will get a tolerance, right? Same with coffee. That's why Logan can drink eight pots of coffee in a day and be fine, right? If I have more than one cup of coffee, I'm like cracked out. It's like too much. And so I have my 1 cup. But I like that you said water and electrolytes, because that's the biggest thing I found that helps with if I do get anxiety from drinking caffeine, it's because I'm dehydrated usually. So my rule is 8 ounces of water first thing when I get up. I will have my cup of coffee, and then I'm drinking this is a Nalgene, but 32 ounces of Element T electrolytes, just getting that in me and getting myself kind of covering up the effects of what the caffeine is doing to me, right? I'm just adding one thing to try and counteract the other, but seems to work for me. Feels good. And I've even heard of, if you don't know what theanine is, you can get theanine pretty inexpensively, just regular theanine, and add that to a coffee, and it makes it like a really mellow, just clear run, because theanine is you're basically like a natural speedball, I guess.
I've done pretty good about not drinking it in the mornings. Really, I came off of it a lot, coffee. Where before I was like Logan, I would drink freaking anybody that traveled with me. I would drink
rodeo guys are like
coffee.
that. Can drink a ton of coffee.
But anymore I've kind of gotten away from it. I really, even like you were talking about pre-workout, like aminos I found really are kind of nice as a substitute. Taking some different aminos kind of gives you a little bit of an energy boost.
Yeah, there's definitely non-stimulant forms of pre-workouts that are what you're saying, amino acids, lots of B12, lots of other vitamins that just give you that natural bump. It's not going to be that not blinking for 30 minutes bump, but it'll be a good boost, and you'll feel a lot better and more awake and more cognitive and all of those things. So, and especially when I was competing, when I was riding, pre-workout would make me puke almost every time. Whether it was before I got on or after, it made me want to throw up. And I think just, again, heart rate going too fast, too wound up. And that, I didn't know it at the time. I thought it would help, but I needed to slow down. In all reality, I didn't need to go any faster. I needed to slow way down. And so when I stopped taking pre-workout, I stopped puking before I got on, and I ended up riding a little bit better, which was nice. But yeah, a lot of people, I've actually had a lot of questions about pre-workout recently, and people are like, you really don't take anything? And I used to take a lot of it, but I also, a lot of people don't know about this about me, but like I did CrossFit competitively for a long time at a high level. And if you take pre-workout during one of those sessions, it, again, same thing. You're already going hard and going fast. Like, it did not help me whatsoever. It would kill me. And I just got to the point where, dude, I can work out with no music on. I can work out after eating. Like, working out was my entire life. I can just go work out now, so I don't have to get myself all hyped up to go do it. I just go do it. But I do understand in the beginning, you feel like you need that push, like you need something to go. So biggest thing, if you're going to have pre-workout, I say just do your research. And this isn't like any throwing hate at anybody, but I know for a fact Bucked Up's pre-workout pops going through TSA for explosive. So that's probably not ideal for us. I don't know what's in it that's making it do that, but guaranteed, I know for a fact that you cannot take Bucked Up pre-workout, because they will look at you like, yeah, it's pre-workout, and they're going to swab that thing at TSA, and they're going to be like, absolutely not. So that's wild. That's pretty wild to think what's really going in some of these. And my biggest thing is just looking at the company you're getting it from, what they're doing testing wise and all that. Go ahead, Kyle. So I didn't mean to cut you off, buddy.
No. Even C4, like I believe it's NFL where it's a banned substance because it masks concussions. And I think that's the interesting point when you get into pre-workout and competitive bull riding, because concussions are a big deal, and it can mask it to the point where I've abused that. Is that because
it's like keeping your brain alert because of the caffeine or whatever's in it?
Yeah. And it's overriding some of those symptoms. So it's not like taking away your concussion. It's just masking it to a great degree. And that's, like, early on in my career, I would take, every time I took a concussion test, I would take 2 scoops of C4 every time. And since then I've got a little wiser in my years. That's probably not the best idea, but still. And I mean, heck, even that process, there's still guys that will go in there and purposely do bad on their concussion test so that if they have to go back through it, that, they can,
An improvement.
even if they're concussed a little bit, they'll meet that threshold, that line.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a wild thing I haven't ever been aware of, is people. And now that when you say it, I'm like, that makes total sense, because we're not guaranteed any pay. You guys are not guaranteed pay when you show up to a rodeo, right? NFL, MLB, whatever, they're not going to fake a concussion protocol test because they're getting paid regardless, right? They have to be taken care of. Their mindset is different in the sense that rodeo athletes are like, I have to get on to pay for my kid's food tomorrow or whatever that is, right? Yeah, it'd make total sense that guys would kind of fudge their test and kind of act more delusional than they were, so that way when we show up the next day, they know that they're going to be good to go.
Yeah, that's kind of been our history,
but not.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, I think pro rodeo has a long history of at the top tier it being a kind of a joke, concussion protocols and return to testing, and kind of like, I mean, there's lots of stories I could tell that I'm not going to of like, there was no way that dude should have gotten on, and it's like just been okay. And so I say that to say, while we're probably not where we could be or should be, we're dang sure not where we were, and we're headed in the right direction, I think, so, which is great to see that we're moving more in that direction.
And I think too, for me, I got to the point in my career, I'm like, heck, like if you're out there, like you're saying, this is how you put food on the table. And if you're trying to, get around the concussion protocol, but you're not doing the stuff at home every single day, that's going to put you, position to be in the winner's circle. Like, it's just at that point, at the surface, you're doing maybe what you need to do, but like deep down, like they're the foundation that's missing there. So
preach. That's one of the things I love about following you, is that like you're really transparent with your fitness journey and your drills and stuff, and you're so consistent. I mean, multiple times a week I see you on your drop barrel, and like you're
posting
exactly what it looks like.
More than that.
Yeah. I mean, those are just your posts. Like, and so I know that you're putting in the work and you're doing the things that it takes to get there. And I think that that's encouraging. For what the reason that I love that is because social media is such a place in which it's just filled with imposters, and it's filled with people that just want to give fake information out there about, if you stand on this ball and you hold this kettlebell this way with a resistance band around your arm and you do 100 reps into your hand, it's going to make you a better bull rider. And here you are, you're doing some training, right? But you're also posting the bread and butter of getting better at riding bulls, hinging at the hips on a barrel. You're doing like, hey guys, if you want to get better at riding bulls, this is what I do. And I like, your content has real value to somebody that understands, to like Doug and I, people that understand the human body and understand training for the sport. We can look at other people's content and be like, that's junk. That's junk. That's junk. Oh, Kyle's right here. This is gold, and so like, I appreciate the efforts that you make, and I don't know where I'm going with this, other than like, I love seeing your journey, and I think that you've done a really good job of being transparent with your training and stuff. It's been cool to watch.
I think too, like one of the things that's difficult, like when you're building that is like, so the social media world, it's all about all these different things you're doing all the time. And like the more mature I've gotten in my fitness journey and in my bull riding journey, the more like everything I do becomes more foundational. It becomes more basic and more boring to the social media world. So it's like, I could post every day. I could post me getting on the drop barrel because I do it every single day. And it's like, it's super boring. And it tends to be very similar content, and I really haven't got into the world of getting my phone connected and doing all my gym workouts and stuff and posting videos like that. Because that's a lot more work. And I'm like, man, if I spend 10 minutes doing this in the gym, like I could have spent 10 minutes freaking, doing something else. Like time management in my life anymore is like so crucial. So,
oh man, that's huge. It's huge. And that's what I think Logan was getting to, is like, it does all look the same, which is, that's what it takes. That's what everybody is missing. Everyone on Instagram is posting, like Logan said, themselves tied off to resistance bands in some weird way, standing on top of a ball. But no one's posting getting on the drop barrel every single day. Yes, it looks the same because that's what matters. The fundamentals matter. That's what gets you from point A to point B in the sport. If you're a bareback rider, bronc rider, whatever, if you're not on the spur board or the drop barrel every day working on the fundamentals, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Like you're not, you're not going to make it. So we had Casey on the other day, man, and he talked about the spur board being the number one thing. He's like, bucket machine, I use that to condition myself for bareback riding, to get in riding shape. I don't use that to get better at bareback riding. I use the fundamentals, the spur board for that. Going to get on the spur out horse. Like same thing with you. You can look at your profile and say, these are the things he is doing every single week consistently. And that is what is going to pay in the long run, is that consistency, doing it over and over and over, mastering the skills and the fundamentals. Because if you can't do it there, you ain't doing it in the arena. And that's what all these kids are missing. They can half-ass doing on a spur board, and even half the kids can't even do it half-ass on a spur board. I know for a fact of that. But like, yeah, multiple times. And then they want to go, but they can get on horses and they wonder why they're 58 points every time. It's like, dude, you can't even hold yourself up on this thing. What do you mean? Like, no wonder you're 58
or crippled.
Points. Or hurt. Yeah.
Or crippled. Or hurt all the time.
And so that's the hardest thing about rodeo, and I say this all the time, is keeping it simple is the hardest thing. Because you hit these next level, so like a video game, you beat level 1, you're on to level 2. That means I have to do something different, right? That means I have to do this more, that more. And then all of a sudden you've dug yourself down this hole that like you have dug in yourself, and all you really need to do is focus on A, B, and C. The things you've been focusing on the entire time. Do the basics perfect, it's going to go well. So like it's refreshing to see your training and you posting about that, and it's nothing flashy, but it's what works. Right.
And it also, it's not something I've always done. So like, I can't say that I've been that guy that had 40 bands on him and, went through that process. It makes me appreciate like what you guys are doing and being able to reach the amount of people you're reaching with like functional training. That's, really going to impact your bull riding or your bronc riding or your barrel racing. Like when I came into this sport, like fitness was part of my life from when I was a kid. But like I had a big transition in like, hey, playing baseball and the workouts I'm doing here is not translating into bull riding. And so there's that process of like finding out like, what I'm doing. I mean, the majority of what I do for the most part is a lot of core stuff, core stuff from being your obliques to your back, to your hip flexors, to your IT bands, and not just, flexibility in your, hip flexors, but strengthening them. And same thing with your IT bands. And it's really almost your chest and back all the way down to below your hips, all of those muscles that connect, and then you see like probably the most common thing at the PBR sports med that I have witnessed is people with tight psoas muscles. And, stuff like that, where it's like, okay, if we're going into the, sports med every single week and 5 out of 10 guys are getting worked on the same thing, what's going on here?
Yep.
Yeah, that's
exactly
definite epidemic in especially rough stock riders. So we see that all the time. And a lot of times guys think their lower back is messed up, and it's really they're so tight on the front side it's pulling everything forward, which we see a lot. But, that's why we try and address those things. And with our athletes, we're definitely working on not just the flexibility, but the mobility, being strong in those end ranges of motion and strengthening those specific areas. And like how you said, the core, it's not just one, it's not your six pack, right? You talked about a whole 360 encompassing. That's your core. That is what holds you together, is all of those muscles together. So you have to pay attention to them. And I don't know if you've probably seen my page the last couple of weeks. I've just been hammering on posterior chain because that is where we see a huge weakness in, I would say, almost any rodeo athlete, is like their backside is strong. So when we say your core needs to get stronger, they immediately think six-pack muscles. No, your core, your entire thing needs to get stronger. Your back, your sides, the middle, everything that connects it all has to be one thing working together. And if you have weaknesses in one of those things, it's going to make the other one work harder, which again, imbalance leads to eventually some kind of injury.
You alluded to something earlier, Kyle, about like transitioning from baseball to bull ride. What age did you start riding bulls?
Oh, I was 18. So I was
later.
yeah, I was 18. I was later, and so I had, I guess during that time it was big, the bigger, faster, stronger.
Yeah.
But it really meant that it was about getting strong and big and quickness, but not really quickness. It was more about speed, just a different deal altogether. When you're
Mm.
looking at, like, you get into some of the football, and that probably was more of a football because that's mostly high school, right? So
Yeah.
you think of your traditional high school workouts, and so then kind of that transition where everything there was not so much, it was just so different.
Yep.
How
Yep.
long do you
Do
play
you?
baseball for?
I played when I was a kid all the way until I was,
So like 10
senior in
plus
high
years.
school. Yeah, I thought about going and playing college ball, and I chose to do rodeo instead. So
Cool.
Do
I
you
couldn't
feel
do
like
both.
those? Oh, I'm sorry. No, do you feel like those years of developing? What do you? I've always said that, like, one of the things we preach is that just developing regular athleticism in your youth and in your childhood. Some of the best guys in the world that we see, they were D1 athletes in college, or they were very, very competitive in wrestling or baseball or football in high school, and they didn't even start rodeoing until 18 to 22. What do you feel like baseball brought you that transferred to bull riding?
Probably consistency and discipline.
Mm.
From when I was a kid, whether I played baseball or not, I've always been very competitive. I just am, to the point where I don't know, some guys, they'll get to a top level and then they'll actually go back. Look at Mike Lee,
Mm.
where he kind of, he's best in the world, and then when he quit riding bull for the PBR, he didn't retire. He just went, and did it. And I don't know that I could ever do that just because of the competitiveness that I have. I don't, I think I would probably transition. But so the competitiveness was there, and even the athleticism, I probably would have been a physical person. I would have found something to do.
Mm-hmm.
But within baseball, the consistency and the discipline was a big part, that structure that I
Mm.
think really helped me transition when I got out of maybe the same workouts or the same routine in baseball. I knew that I had to develop something. There had to be something there that I could be consistent at, and it took discipline to create that system, And for me, I didn't have a background where I was around bull riders. I didn't have teachers, I went to a few LaFew schools growing up. I tried to go to one a year. So I knew how important that structure was going to be, and I knew that I had to create it because I really didn't have anybody around me that was going to help me
Mm.
do so.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's really
That's awesome.
important to hear, because a lot of kids nowadays are not coming from an athletic background, or not playing other sports. They're going straight to rodeo. So they've never had any kind of education on how to be disciplined, like what it means to show up even though you don't want to. Like, that's what's cool about team sports, is that it does forces you to be accountable, because it's not just you. But in that
Mm.
at the same time, you are learning how to be accountable for yourself as well. So when you transition to an individual sport, it's a lot easier for a guy like you that has a lot of experience in team sports and athletics to take that same mentality to bull riding. It's a hard transition for guys that have never played any kind of sport or never done any kind of athletics to say all of a sudden, okay, I'm going to be this world-class athlete. It's like, dude, you don't even know how to be a novice athlete right now because you've never been one, right? So there's a
Mm.
lot of learning that has to take place during that. So like Logan was saying, we've seen it time and time again, and said it a bunch, that, like, especially young kids, don't just rodeo. Go play other sports. Go get experience in other things. Become an athlete. And the way you do that is doing different stuff, playing
Yeah.
different sports, right?
That's how you're going to become a world-class athlete in
Mhm.
in anything you do. But if you're preteens and somehow your parents have let you listen to this, you need to go to get better at bull riding, at bucking horse riding, at roping. The best
Yep.
thing you can do to be where you want to be in 10 years is to go do something else right now. Now,
Mhm.
roping, like, for sure, keep going, or getting on steers. I'm not saying any of those things are bad, but it's that and developing athleticism, playing baseball, basketball, football, all the things. As much as your family can afford. We're getting into youth sports. My boys had their first coach pitch practice last night, and you want to talk about comical.
Dude, I want you to video that. I laugh so hard at stuff. Videos on Instagram of kids playing T-ball, I lose it, dude. It's like watching Minions. It's like watching Despicable Me, where they're just like running.
Dude, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Callan's just out there running around in circles, like, you know. Anyway, but yes, it was it. But that's what what I hope to be able to do for them is try to keep them just involved, whether it's gymnastics or like a ninja class, you know, at the gymnastics place for the boys, or you know, or t-ball or basketball, any kind of opportunities we can afford them. And I want them to be able to be involved. And go ahead.
They're getting on sheep too. Like you're doing it all. Like that's what I mean. It's like I think the biggest thing that you're saying here is like the goal as a young kid, if you're a parent for them, your sole goal and only thing you do is not to be a youth world champion steer rider. Like
nobody cares.
You know, that's where we're setting up kids to fail and to have them burn out, and also to burn out their body. Like they're not developed enough for that, right? So make them athletes, get them out doing stuff like all the things that Logan just listed. How much that's everything. Like those kids are going to be set. They're going to be able to do whatever they want.
And that goes so long because kids, you know, the development early on is so important to later on in life. And especially now, because there's new challenges now where everybody's on their phone. Like, and so, you know, just having your kids doing stuff active means they're going to have less screen time. They're not going to be on, you know, social media and, you know, all of that stuff. So I think it just gives them a great foundation for developing what they really want to do once they come to that age where, you know, they can actually start making those decisions.
Yeah, that's really important.
Instead of just pushing them and, like you said, burning them out. Because, I mean, you get some of these kids and it's like you push them so hard and they're never going to do that sport. And they may have if you would have just, like, allowed them to enjoy doing it and enjoy doing a ton of things. But,
yeah, we run into parents that never really accomplished anything within rodeo, or it can be football, it can be whatever themselves, but that was their passion and their goal. And so now it's their main objective is to push their kids to succeed in that field so they can live vicariously through them. And you see it, you see it at every open rodeo you go to. You see a 16-year-old putting his hand in a bull rope who doesn't really want to be there. You know, like he doesn't really want to be getting on, but somewhere along the line, it was understood that his dad expected him to get on. And it's just a shame because it doesn't set kids up for success in anything.
I'll tell you what, I've had way too many injuries in my career to ever want to just push my son to ride bulls. You know, if he wants to do that, then I'll make sure that I take him through the right process. And, you know, I'll be a good father in that process and making sure that he has every opportunity to do it the right way. But,
and that's different because your experience is at an elite level. And we, you know, a lot of these parents we get, and they're incredible for getting their kids into it. But like Logan's saying, it's almost a pride thing where they did this as a young man or woman as well. And they didn't, you know, they stopped when they were 15 or 16 and haven't done it for 40 years. And they're trying to remember and relate to what they learned, you know, whenever they did whatever it is they're trying to teach their kid how to do. And instead of just being like, hey, here's the coaches, go listen to them. I'm going to support you from over here. I'm even going to sit there and listen to what the coaches are saying so then I can help you at home. And like that's where it really, really matters. And we had a lady at the school in Washington the other week, and she was like the best. If I could like put a poster parent of like bringing your kid to a school and being there the entire time, she was there the entire time. She was the best parent ever, dude. She was there listening to what the coaches were had to say, wanting to help her son, but also like very like, you know, when kids have their parent around, they're almost they behave differently, if that makes sense. And he was a young kid, but he kind of just wanted to like go to her when things weren't like going great. And she's like, absolutely not. Like, go back to the coaches, go back with your group. Like, you're doing this. And that kid progressed and got so much out of those 3 days. And I think she did too, sitting there listening and learning, because now they can go home and she can say, you know, shoulder back when you're on the spur board, like whatever it is. It's an accountability buddy. And she learned the correct way, which was really cool. So yeah, I totally agree, man. Parents can either make or break what happens with their kids for sure. And it's usually like not like they're trying to do that on purpose, right? It's not like they're like, I'm trying to mess my kid up. Like, no, you want them to do good so badly sometimes that it holds them back. You know, we're always looking for a quality protein source. That is why I look to Colorado Craft Beef for my beef needs. I'm no longer going to the store. I am putting in my order, and they are shipping it directly to my house. Some of the things I love about Colorado craft beef are the beef is 21 days dry aged. Y'all, it does not happen in a grocery store. The beef looks entirely different than it would if you get it from the store. It tastes entirely different than you would if you get it from the store. And the cost is very, very similar, if not better, just depending on where you are. But bottom line, you can fuel your body with some of the highest quality protein from Colorado craft beef. Look, the cattle, they're raised well. They're raised with care, crafted with passion, and again, packed with protein. It's the perfect choice for athletes like us. So go check them out, coloradocraftbeef.com. You can order your premium cups there, and they also have incredible beef sticks, on-the-go options that you can take with you, packed with protein, and the best source you can get. Again, check them out at coloradocraftbeef.com. Use our discount code ChampionLiving, all one word. Going to save you some money on that next beef order. As you all know, we are always rocking Hui. Hui has the best gear because it's tough. It's durable. It withstands the test of what we put it through, and that is why I am a big supporter of Hui brands. Guys, from hats, apparel, whatever you need, they've got you covered. They are the perfect blend of rodeo style and athletic performance. You can check them out at huibrands.com. Use our discount code ChampionLiving, all one word, is going to save you a little bit at checkout. So,
yeah, for sure. It's like, one of the things too that I forget who it was. It was a golfer, and he was saying like, hey, if you really want to get your kids into golf, he said, take them out, let them go to the range, let them hit the golf ball, take them away before they get burnt out. So when they're at the peak of just loving what they're doing, you say, hey, bud, we got to go. And then when you leave, don't just leave, take them down to the clubhouse and have a hot dog with them. And, really nurture that experience.
Yep.
And I think we should probably do that, in the rodeo world the same. Like how many times do we take and it's like, hey, get on X amount of, maybe quit while they're enjoying it, like at the height of that enjoyment, and then find another way to then connect with your child. And then that experience will like develop, and later on in life, like there won't be those negative experiences. You
never have a pen when you need one. I need a pen so I can take some notes right now.
Well, lucky for you, this is recorded and out there forever, so you can listen back.
That's
it's easier said than done too. So it's not like,
absolutely.
Yeah, it is. But that's such good advice for all the things, right? Because we go through the work to do the activity, right? You drive to the range and you go through all of that. And I have never once done something that my kids enjoyed and left while they were still enjoying it. It's like we just suck it dry. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, Dad, I'm bored. I want to leave. And then it's like, okay, cool. Well, we'll move on to the next thing. But it makes a lot of sense. And I think that's a really good, that's valuable right there for sure.
On the other end, what I find challenging is like going to events with the family, right? And like, for me, and everybody's a little bit different in getting into that zone when they flip that switch, for competing. And for me, it's like I turn into a different person, and like my focus it's super, super highly focused. And so then like sometimes I worry that when we go and I take the family to an event, that them watching me won't be a great experience because, I'm not there, with them enjoying that to the same degree because I'm competing, so I think there's a challenge there.
Well,
and I think guys do it well too, by the way. Like look at Dakota Lewis, and he takes his son everywhere, does an amazing job on that end. And family structures are different too, but that's an interesting thing as well as an athlete, just a challenge.
But I think it's important for them to see you get in that zone. You know what I'm saying? And see you, like, for them to be there and understand, why can't we be with Dad right now? Well, this is something that he loves. It's something that he's good at. And in order for him to do it, he's working right now. He needs some time to be able to focus. And I think that could be helpful for them to later on and serve a purpose of like, it's not all fun and games. Even when we're doing the things that we love, when it's time to go to work, it's time to go to work.
Yeah. And we see that, man, that just made me think of that school again. Like how many young kids we had there. And you, like when you get on the spurboard or drop barrel, like you're not driving that same exact amount of intensity out of yourself towards that thing, but like you don't have a smile on your face. Like you're bearing down. There's a focus to it, right? There's a mentality that you have to take to it. And when you practice, you have to have that same mentality, because I'm on the spurboard, just like, this is so fun. I love this. I'm lifting. I'm setting my feet. I get to the rodeo, dude, I'm probably gonna get killed. Like it's not gonna go well. So you got to kind of get that mean face and set that tone for what you're preparing yourself for, and like your kids being able to see that, I think is really huge, because now you're not just now like rodeo's fun and getting on bulls is fun, but it's also very serious. And so when they never get to see the serious part, they only see the fun part. They don't get to understand that what you do is really dangerous, requires a ton of focus and trust in your body. Like, and 90% of America doesn't see that, right? They see the thing that happens for that 8 seconds, and that's it. They don't see all of the other things, that what it takes to prepare to go in, not just physically but mentally. And dude, I think riding with your family there is almost harder sometimes, because like you can put unwanted pressure on yourself to do better, and to, those thoughts of like, I'm riding for my kids. Shit, they're right there in the stands. If I don't ride, like they're not, potentially not eating it. I mean, it's not that bad, but it could spiral, right? So to be strong enough to keep it all together and to have them there and like to do all the things and balance that is really cool, and is a tough thing to do, but is, you see all those guys do it, man. We see so many athletes take their families on the road with them, and what a way to grow up for a kid. Like, what a cool way to grow up, being on the road. And we all know rodeo family's the best. Like, none of us, or me and Logan, don't rodeo anymore, but all of our friends we still talk to, like we met through rodeo, right? We're like, those relationships are going to last far longer than your competition will. And when kids get to grow up in that, it just makes it even sweeter. Like that, they all get to be a part of it, and we get to do it together. How many little ones you got, dude?
Two.
2 little ones. Yep. That's awesome.
Got
How old are they?
4-year-old and a 2-year-old. So
he's in the throes.
Yeah. We're not quite into the sports stuff yet, but we're gonna get there. My son started playing golf. He starts hitting golf quite a bit. So
that's awesome.
He hits everything. Well, it's kind of awesome until you take a golf club to your shin.
No, that's fair. That's very true. That's very true.
That's awesome. You talked about that, and I think one of the things too that I've gotten more into later in life has been less motivational. Listening to motivational speeches and more like sports psychology.
Yep.
And like, one of Dr. David Cook is one of my favorite, and he talks about performance is potential minus distractions. And so, being able to, navigate distractions, compartmentalize, and, getting in that zone. It's not just about getting in the zone, it's staying in that zone. And it's easy to say that, like, me and Chase Doherty last summer were talking a little bit about like when you're in the zone, it's great, but that window lasts so long, and you have to find a way to make sure you extend that window.
Yep.
So it takes that's very intentional, because if you're just flying by emotions, that window can get cut short real quick.
Yes.
And I think a lot of those motivational books are cool. Like, they're cool stories to listen to. They fire you up, right? But at the end of the day, what worked for that one person to get motivated was fueled by a lot more than, I feel like, what's said in the book necessarily. Like, some people are a lot more real about it. But like, there's usually like trauma attached to that. There's a lot of things that are attached to the reason that they are the way they are. They've had to cope through life to continue to be resilient and to rise up. And that's just not going to work for every single person in life, right? So like, taking certain traits and characteristics that are similar to you that you can use from those books, I think is really, really important. But I also think a lot of people read those books thinking it's going to be the answer to all their problems, and it's just not, because it was the one answer to that one person's problems, right? The one thing you can take is little pieces of those people's multiple stories like that and use them for yourself. The thing with sports psychology is, it's not someone else's opinion of how things work and how it made them feel. It just is what it is. These are the facts. These are how thinking this way affects the outcome. This is how thinking that way affects the outcome. And here are the tools to either strengthen one or strengthen the other. Do it or not. And if you don't, you're not going to get better. Like, that's the bottom line, right? So that's why I like the sports psychology a lot more too, and like using those tools. And there's so many people, and I've said this before, I think, but I just call it like, it's like mentally jerking off, kind of. You read all these things that get you excited, and all you want to do is like, oh, I'm going to I'm going to be successful at that, and I'm going to go do this. I'm going to write my list every day. And like, you're just thinking about it. You're never doing it. You're just talking, never doing. And that's the problem is we just read and read and read and read. All of a sudden, I've read 20 self-help books, and I haven't done one fucking thing to help myself out of them, right? It's just the spiral of the whole. So it's like, get out there and do something with the information that you just learned. Like, go read that book, yes, but apply it. Go use it. Don't just keep reading and reading and reading and never using it, because then you're never going to find anything to help you. Sorry, rant over.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. I think maybe rodeo athletes are more they're more likely to fall into that, because if you think about the weekends, we hit these highs, right? We hit these highs every weekend. We get that good feeling, and then a lot of times what we experience is what they call the blues syndrome, and our adrenal glands are being worked so freaking hard that we just crash on, Monday or Tuesday, and everybody, guys will get into drugs, antidepressants, they'll get on uppers just to never lose that and try to work through it. So like the motivational, that gives us that same kind of, kickstart, and it gets us up here, but like there's no, it's almost a form without substance.
Exactly.
And so we're kind of missing what's going to actually sustain us and help us to develop, those skills that a lot of times those motivational speakers and stuff are actually telling you to do, but you're just getting the emotional high from it.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
That's it, man. It's a real thing, and I think it's so easy to get caught up in today's world, especially because there are so many options. And like podcasts, how many people are just driving down the road listening to podcasts, listening to Jocko, listening to I don't, like whoever, like, and those guys are great, dude. I listen to their podcast too, because I take little pieces of what they say that apply to my life and use them. Right? The rest of what they say, I've never been to war. I've never been in charge of leading soldiers. Like, I can't relate to that necessarily, but some of those things that he says relate to business or relate to me as my rodeo life, or maybe my family life, that I value him as a leader and someone I like respect and look up to as a business owner, as a human, but I'm not living his life, right? I'm taking little pieces and doing that. And that's where I think a lot of people, like I said, they read someone's story and think that's the way, like, dude, why I'm blanking. Who's the dude that runs all the time?
Goggins. Who's
right?
going to carry the boats?
Yeah,
who's going to carry the boats? Exactly. Like, that's his thing.
Yeah.
But if you've read his story, it makes a lot of sense. Like, his life was very hard, especially growing up. There's a lot of things he had to cope with. So, like, staying hard, like being tough, was his way to win. And it's worked really, really well for him. And it's helped a lot of people too that were in that, maybe that same boat, but not everyone is like him. And not like, just because you like what he does does not mean that you have to go do everything he does, or that's going to be beneficial for you. And I listened to him with Cam Haynes, and he talks about all these things. He's running all these miles and doing all these things. What you've never read about is how many times he's been sidelined because of that. He's overtrained. He's pushed his body too hard. And he's like, now the one thing I don't miss is my mobility workouts. I never miss a mobility workout because it messed me up so bad that I wasn't doing it. I couldn't go do the one thing I liked. He's like, so I do not skip mobility. I will do that every day. But unless you listen to that one podcast, if you look at the social media, you aren't seeing that. Yeah. All you're seeing is who's going to carry the boats. And that's cool, because that's his mantra.
Not me.
But yeah, like, it's like, so it's, and dude, like, rodeo athletes are going to gravitate towards someone with that mindset all day, because that's how we are. We're intense. We're freaking fired up, and we want to do everything 100. Well, you guys missed the one little part where he says he does his mobility every day. Yeah, he goes 100, but he takes care of his body. On the other side, he recovers. All you guys are just going 100 and trying to go to 110. It's not going to work. You're going to implode. So there's little things like that.
I think the biggest thing is there's reflections of truth in so many different ways and avenues. We can find reflections of truth just about everywhere. But when we start taking things as whole truths and start directly applying it to our lives, specifically in rodeo or a profession, like, if there's anything that, like, I know I'm capable of, it's overtraining. I know I'm capable of it. I can push my body to where it will break. And if I don't think about that, then, if I don't make sure that I'm doing all of the different things, whether that's, taking breaks in between my reps, whether that's every single night. I spend an hour every night doing stretching and mobility and pliability.
Yep.
Like I'm going to be sitting on the couch or with the kids, or I can be on the floor with the kids and they can be playing around me. Like what's better?
Yeah.
And you're teaching them
sure.
to do those things as well. You know, like you're setting that as like the routine. Like every night I just do my mobility and stretch. And eventually when they get to be 5, 6, 7, 8, want to be, they're doing things with you now. Like they're going to be sitting there stretching with you. They don't even know what they're doing.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you created this awesome habit for them for a lifetime that, oh, you're tight. Well, we just do a little stretching and you feel better. A little mobility, a little strengthening, or whatever it is. That's really cool, man. That's so important to do for your kids. And I was going to say, I was like, just to be clear, 2 of these guys do have kids, and so their parenting advice is legit. I'm the only one that you don't have to take my parenting advice. I'm just shooting in the wind.
But hey, I could write a textbook on what not to do with kids. So you follow me there.
I'll be
still writing it. It's not even
he's still writing it. It's not even done yet. We just finished chapter 1.
Yeah.
Hey, but before we, I don't want to wrap this up without chatting about all of the cool things that you guys have going on that are, they're rodeo related, but they're not because of your bull riding. There because your entrepreneurial mindset and your want to help the sport of rodeo. So this was released. Western Edge was last year, right? Like over a year now. It's been out.
Yeah, we're year 2 right now, so we're currently in year 2. So.
Western Edge app. If you have anyone listening has never heard of it, check it out. I'm gonna let Kyle break it down here, but basically this is like your one-stop shop. It's like a Facebook for stock, essentially. So you could draw stuff, upload videos. Yeah, you take it away. Explain us to what is Western Edge app?
Well, basically, it was created out of a really desire to help people and to give back to this community. With me and my business partner Vinny Malzahn, and I love this demographic, this sport. It's provided me with a life that I'll cherish forever, and I knew that I didn't want to get into all of the training stuff and teaching people, in bull riding. The better I got, the more advanced I got, the more I'm like, this is a lot of work and I'm not prepared to do that. Like, what can I do that I'm going to love doing? And so we created this app out of a need, because when I started riding bulls at 18, I was not around this community. And so getting access to things was very difficult, and there's information everywhere, but it gets lost in the ocean of information nowadays. So we developed an app that's kind of a central hub for everything Western sports, where a person can get on there. They can find events near them. They can find rodeo supplies. They can find equine supplies. They can have free animal listings if they're trying to sell something. And we really wanted to make something where we didn't have to go to Facebook and just start searching over and over and spending hours to do so. So really, it's just one platform to really connect this community together and hopefully help it to flourish, the way that we know that it can and should.
Isn't there some like travel logistics and stuff on there too? I think you've talked to me a little bit about like if you could like plan out the rodeos that you're going to go to, and it would show you like other events maybe that are on your route or something like that. Wasn't there like some logistical component that you were developing or have developed on there as well?
Yeah, so we've started kind of doing so with our map feature that we just launched with our layover barn. So right now you can get on our layover barn map, and it will show you all the layover barns in the country. And if you're traveling, with stock or whatever, you can click on this map. It's a map like a Google map. You can click on the layover barn. It'll have their contact information. You can talk to them. We're getting ready to bring the events to the map side, and we're developing, and this is pretty new, but we're going to continue to expand that over the next year to where, you can actually route your trips and, kind
That's
of find rodeos by whether that's added money, discipline. Really, making that whole planning much easier and efficient, because that's something that's difficult, especially if you're rodeoing. The PBR, if you're just doing that tour, it's one thing where it's just where you're going each weekend. But for people traveling, and that maybe you are going to an event, but there's another event you could hit on the way, that kind of stuff. So
that's a critical piece of it. I don't know about in the PBR, but in the PRCA, making the NFR, That's a huge piece in how to enter, right? There are perfs that you want. There are logistics that go into how to get there, flying, what's more convenient, how to, I mean, there are people that make money entering other people. I didn't realize that, but there's a guy maybe in Kansas that he enters like 6 or 7 or 8 bull riders. A lot of them have gone to the finals. It's what he does. They don't even do their own books. And I didn't realize, but just knowing from personal experience how much of a headache it is to try to keep up with books and figuring out where you're going in an app like that. And once you guys have that rolled out with events and stuff, man, that I feel like that just, it takes so much of the difficulty in being a successful self-employed person rodeoing for a living out of the way.
Yeah.
It's a roadmap, literally,
You're
for
taking
success
an
in rodeo.
entire huge step out of the process for guys that have to. We all had to figure that out on our own. Like we all had to mix and match and get to a rodeo, and you're sleeping in your truck because you can't find anywhere to go. Like, imagine having an app that you can set that all up, and it gives you the exact stop-offs with contact information, trustworthy. And like, and we weren't even hauling horses. Like, I can't imagine hauling horses. Like, you can't just pull off and drop them wherever. Like, it has to be a trustworthy place. It has to be a good facility that is going to be able to. You're going to be able to take care of your animals in, right? You don't want to stop somewhere and you wake up the next morning, your horse is crippled. Like, no, we want to make sure that we have the most opportunity for people to take the best care of themselves out on the road, and that's what you guys are doing at the Western Edge app, which is. It's huge, man. This is a game changer, and I don't think that many people know about the app yet, even though it's been out for, on year 2. I think that it's still fairly new, and y'all, if you haven't checked this out, go check it out. Western Edge app. It's free to download, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and most of our features are free, and that's something in the next few months we're going to be adding value both to our free users and subscribers. So the next few months you're going to see a lot of changes start to take place in our subscriptions. One of the biggest things that we've continued to try to do is be at the front lines of development and bringing in technology that's going to help people. There's a lot of challenges with owning a business, and one of those challenges is like getting feedback and kind of that ebb and flow of waiting enough time to get feedback and then making those changes that are going to help people. So
yep,
that's so cool.
That is, man, super cool. And I know that you guys do have a lot of cool things coming up. We're excited to be just affiliated with you guys, even in the smallest bit. What you guys are doing is huge, and we really appreciate the relationship we have with you guys over at Western Edge, and you valuing our input in the same way, like the way that we grow this sport is doing this together, right? We all have different goals, but at the end of the day, we have the same goal, and that is to help rodeo and to help the youth and the next generation continue to flourish and have it better than we did. And it's not that we had it bad, but there's just so much room of improvement for this sport. And I think I've said it multiple times, but like the country needs this right now. Like the country is hungry for real.
That's exactly right.
Rodeo and cowboys and cowgirls are real. And so
it starts with the community too.
Damn
I
right.
take your Logan. I take it all the time. You're talking about moving the needle forwards in the Western demographic, and we can't do that within this individualistic ideology. It's community driven, and if we can maintain that, then we're going to be able to fend off all the wolves that are out there, attacking this culture.
Yeah, attacking this culture, and some of those wolves attacking this culture are within this culture.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're not going to go down the rabbit hole today, but I can tell you there's power in numbers. And when we're unified and we have that community, not only are we going to attract more people to the community that aren't inside of it. I mean, we've seen that with Yellowstone and with all the stuff that's going on, but we're also going to be stronger together. Those of us that have been born in this community and have been raised in this community and are raising our kids in it. It's just like the future of Western sports looks brighter for my kids than it did when I was their age. And it's in part because of some of the things that you guys are doing for Western sports. And I think that that's fantastic. I mean, it's what we need in this day and age. And, I mean, Champion Living is young. It's a young company that filled a gap. It stepped into a hole. Western Edge is young, but it's filling a gap. It's stepping into a hole. And I mean, together we're able to hopefully move the needle forward for not just rodeo, but all of Western sports for the next generation.
Yeah, for sure.
I will say that there's a good group of people our age, and we're all young in this entrepreneurial game. And but we all recognize who we are, like who each other is, and we're all working together to help each other grow, which is what I think over time, as our group continues to grow, it's going to, like he said, there's power in numbers. We're going to be able to bring the right things to light, and we're going to see huge changes happen, not because of any of us individually, but because of what we could accomplish as together as a whole, because we all have the same vision for a little bit of a different goal. And it's like, we put those together, we're going to be unstoppable, you know? And like you guys, like Jordan Fabrizio over at Fabrizio Marketing, what she's doing for the sport and getting the awareness out on, you know, the female side of professional rodeo is huge. And, like, dude, every time I have a follower on my account that is like a teenage rodeo athlete girl, it's a goat tire or a barrel racer, I'm like, finally, like we're actually getting girl athletes to figure this, like they want to get stronger too. And like, that's my goal. Like this whole time, of course we have the guys and the bull riders, that's natural. But like, dude, the girls, the amount of difference those girls could see and like how competitive each one of those events is. You're talking about hundreds of a second sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, and that's like from first to sixth place sometimes. It's crazy. Yeah. So to see that side of the sport, the girls that are not necessarily in these combat type events starting to realize that, hey, the more athletic and fit I am, the better my horse is going to be able to run, the better I'm going to be able to complement what my horse can do. Right? Yep. Instead of just throwing supplements at the wall for my horse and throwing every dime I can, maybe I need to look at myself in the mirror for a second and say, hey, like maybe I need to get, turn these up a little bit, and maybe that'd help a little bit. But like, so, all right, so we're gonna rant for a second, but this is really interesting. We were talking about the guy winning the million at the American, in the barrel racing, right? Big controversy because guy winning, quote unquote, female event, whatever. Sure. There are many really successful male barrel racing trainers, right? We were talking with me and Logan were talking with someone the other day, and she brought up a really interesting fact about like, and this is the baseline, like strength wise, men and women are not equal. So you put a man on a horse, he potentially same equal rider, right? Same riding capabilities. He's going to be able to muscle that horse around and make him do things a lot better or quicker or whatever because of his strength, the strength differences, right? In a sense, you could take the same horse, you put a girl that is not as strong, physically strong as that man on there, and sometimes that horse leads them around the arena because they are not able to put him where they want him to go, right? So, dude, that's a really easy fix for a girl in my eyes is like, just go get stronger. You know, that right there is like the one thing that you can do. You can't equal a guy that is bigger than you and heavier than you and whatever in strength. But for your body size and your capabilities, you can definitely increase your strength and your power, which is going to make you a better rider. And that's going to make your time better, and that's going to make you win more money. And that's just the bottom line, right? And, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead, Kyle. Go.
There's got to be too, especially when you're getting into the barrel racing and that equine side, where it's not like the strengths part of it's there, right? And like you said, being able to control it. The higher level you get to, I'm sure there's a little bit less of that element in the horse that you're riding, and then also you kind of still have that bottom line, right? Where it's like, well, even a guy, he may be stronger, but like a girl can get to the same kind of strength level that's necessary. Yes. And that being stronger is not going to necessarily help you anymore, right? As far as being a guy, so no. That's different than a lot of sports as well. And also it's an intriguing controversy to me because I haven't really.
We hadn't either. It was the first time it had been brought up, and we were like, I've never even thought about it like that.
I've known guys that barrel race. Like, that hasn't been completely like that.
There's lots of good trainers out there that are guys that train barrel horses.
And like, if it was tight, if it was like, if it was like a guy doing breakaway, okay. Like,
that would be
that's the only thing that I think about it. Not to like continue beating this dead horse but I'm like, it's fine. He qualified through. They go through like BBR or whatever, which is men can barrel race there, and he qualified, and it's fine. Like, it's good. Like, there's nothing wrong with what he did. But like, if we're gonna let a dude win the barrel racing, like, why can men not get in the breakaway roping? If we're gonna be equal, right? If we want to be equals, and can men get it? But a man wins the breakaway roping at the American and wins a mill. I
It
don't
would have been
know. I don't know.
There
They're,
would have been
I'm
an
talking
uproar.
about
Yeah.
outraged. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And so, because there's definite differences. I'm sorry, and it's biological. Like, there are differences in how far a man can throw a rope, right? And it's just, I mean, it's gonna be different. And I don't mean that in a negative light, but I'm just, I don't think that we would have seen the same love for, you know, because you were either in two camps. You thought it was the greatest thing ever that a man wanted, or you thought it was absolute evil. And so I don't think that we would have seen quite as even parties if it was in the breakaway roping. So if we're gonna do it in one, you got to do it in both.
That's true. Yeah, and I'm not throwing shade at him at all. I think, dude, more power to you. Good for you. Like, you just want to keep going. Like, that's badass.
To be honest, I don't even. It's not even really the athletes themselves in that context. It's like,
no, it never is.
Who's making the decisions? Like, who's making the decision? It's really on them. And if you own your organization, then that's a question that you're probably going to have to address now. If you haven't in the past. Exactly right. But it's not my decision, so thank goodness.
At the end of the day, it was all qualified through the same process that everyone else did, and it was part of the rules, and he wins, and that's how it goes. Cool. More power to you. Yeah. But I will say that female side of the sport, definitely you would see absolute domination if girls started actually really training the way that they put in their horses. It would be nuts.
I think that the whole female side of the sport in general, like, that's one thing that right now in our culture that I really believe is going to really help is the female sports. Me too. NCAA, Iowa and LSU, like, that was a big game. And
I've never watched female basketball in my life, and I was interested in that game.
Yeah, right. And I think with some of these organizations and the money that they're putting into female sports in the sport of rodeo, I really do like that. I think that that's needed. In the past, it's only been a few events that have really been able to put food on the table, and that's changing, and I think it's changing for the better. So I actually really am looking forward to what the future looks like for female sports.
Me too, man. I really am. I want to see breakaway in Thomas and Mack, but I don't think the PRCA wants to see that.
I'd like to see the female bull riding and maybe even some bronc riding really start to take off more too. Yeah. So you have female sport. Sure. And you are. I'd like to see leagues, not, like, let's stop trying to get females to compete against males in bull riding or saddle bronc or bear. Yeah, I'm sorry. Let's just not do that. No. Let's have a league that can promote, this lifestyle and expand it.
Like the Senior Pro Rodeo Association, but like a women's pro rodeo association.
Yeah. Like, which, I mean, you've got the WPRA, but those are like the events. I don't ever see anything. Yeah, I don't see. At one point in time, they had rough suck events and stuff with the WPRA, and I'm not sure how that still works, but I don't ever see anything advertising those events or those leagues or how they. I mean, the closest thing we've gotten is that, like, what the show that's been on for a little bit, like the Cowgirls, where they bring those group of girls and they,
follow them around.
They do a tour. They do a tour and they get on ranch broncs and stuff, and it's fun to watch. I mean, we loved watching it. When it was on, and I do think that it's all growing, and it's getting there, and so to keep up with the growth, like, man, the women are gonna have to step it up physically. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're gonna have to put in the work and step it up physically, and we're getting into this, like, muscle mommy era, if you will, where, like, it's actually becoming cool to lift weights. And my wife, for one, who hates working out, the other day she came home from the gym and she was like, I was deadlifting more than the high school kids that were in there today. And I was like, how'd that feel? Like, it feels pretty good, really. And so, like, it's one of those things where, man, they might not necessarily think that it's going to help them, but in the long run, you get to where you definitely notice the difference, whether it's in the saddle, whether you're barrel racing, breakaway roping, riding ranch broncs. I don't care. Like, it's definitely going to help make you a better athlete.
It's going to make your life better. Just overall wellness. You don't have to. Everybody that's like, I don't want to get to working out, I don't want to get big, or I don't like. Look, if you can just balance your nutrition with your, with your working out, with your flexibility, pliability, mobility, if you can read a little bit more and work on your mental health, like, overall, you're just going to be a more consistent individual that's going to enjoy life just a little bit more.
Yeah, that's a fact. That is a fact. I
Completely
compare
agree.
it to, like, if you work out and start training for everyday life, you've seen, like, those guys, they'll be in the gym and, like, the 2-pound weight falls and they catch it and they're like the Spider-Man. You do that with everything in life. You do that with. You're like, damn, I did that really good. Am I a superhero? All right.
Yeah.
Oh man, Kyle, thank you so much for being on today, buddy. We really enjoyed catching up with you and hearing about Western Edge app, guys. Listeners, if you haven't heard of this app or haven't downloaded it, go download it. Go see what's on. It's free to download. If you have any questions, I know you can. What's your Instagram, brother?
Kyle Jones PBR. And then the Rodeo Wagon podcast we do, and then Western Edge. So
sorry, I forgot.
That's what I meant to. I wanted to bring that up. Like, if you guys listen to a lot of podcasts, then when you get done listening to ours, but like maybe not before, when you get done listening to ours and reviewing ours, then you could go over to Rodeo Wagon podcast. Yeah. I've been able to be on there a couple times, and it's always great conversations, and I listen to it pretty regularly, and I love the interview style, like just the hangout conversations that happen with real athletes, people of all walks of life. But if you're a rodeo athlete, there's a lot of very successful rodeo athletes that Kyle's been able to interview and you get to hear their story and a little bit of where they've come from and the things. And what's pretty cool, you could go through all of the Rodeo Wagons episodes and listen to those guys that have had success in the world of bull riding, and you'll find common traits. Like, that's a way for you to get better. What are those guys doing that I'm not doing? And so the Rodeo Wagon podcast is it's one of the good ones. It's good to listen to.
And just so everybody knows, it is not, nothing's planned. So these conversations could go 50 billion different ways. We chase a lot of Twinkies, we go down rabbit trails all the time. Completely conversation.
Kyle had a list of questions. I've been on his podcast twice. Kyle had a list of questions that he wanted to ask me we've done his podcast twice. I think half the list is still unanswered because we get to talking about trading, and we just, that's like, is what it is. So it's good though.
It's way more fun that way.
Yeah.
It's way more fun. We do that all the time. I'll write like little quote unquote like scripts, and I'm like, nope, F that. Okay, what are we doing today? That was dumb. Why did I do that? But no, man, thank you so much for coming on today. Really enjoyed you taking the time to meet up with us, and we're excited to be doing some things in the future with you and Western Edge and with Vinny. We're fired up, guys. So again, check them out. Western Edge app, Rodeo Wagon podcast. Guys, until next time, we'll catch you later. Beastmaster Rodeo has been with us since the beginning. Whether you are just getting into rodeo or a longtime athlete, Beastmaster Rodeo Gear has what you need. Here's the deal. Lots of rodeo gear companies are coming out, but not all are equal. Beastmaster is really setting the bar when it comes to the equipment that is built for durability and designed for success in the arena. You guys can check them out at beastmasterrodeo.com. Use our discount code ChampionLiving24. That's ChampionLiving24. Going to save you a little bit at checkout.